Well, hey everyone, welcome. Glad you can join us. We've got a few folks with us, and I'm sure we'll be having more come on as things get going and so forth. But just wanted to say welcome, and I'm excited to have you along. So today, good afternoon and almost good morning, almost afternoon, right? Yeah, and then who knows where people are watching from and so forth. But here in Utah, 11:30. So before we get started today, I just want to make sure that we do a quick reminder on what we've discussed last week, because it is totally going to frame our discussion today. So, if you remember, we talked about the importance of understanding our purpose and our audience when communicating. Now, on the purpose side, are we trying, we talked about what are you overtly trying to do? Like right now, I am trying to remind you of what we discussed. That's my purpose right now in communicating. But we also have covert sort of purposes, like I want to engage you, I want to entertain you, I want to get your attention, right? And keep your attention. Those are my purposes. And then I have to think about my audience. Now, remember, we talked about the demographics, psychographics, and context of our audience. Now, the demographics are things like, name, rank, and serial number, your age, your ethnicity, your gender, all that kind of stuff that's easy to observe and measure. That frankly, Julian, isn't Crash Course just amazing? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments. All those things that are easy to observe and measure. But you know what? They're pretty meaningless. What we really care about are the psychographics. Psychographics are the attitudes, behaviors, tastes, values of our audience. Now, psychographics are a lot more difficult to observe and measure. So we use demographics as a back door. Yes, it's stereotyping, but it can help get us started. So for example, I do my classes in a live stream, and I use OBS, and I use animations, right? I've got these cool animations that come up and kind of get your attention and so forth. Why do I do that? Because the vast majority of you are around 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, okay? A few older, some younger, right? But a lot of you are used to this kind of media, right? You expect this kind of media. And so therefore, I use your age as a demographic backdoor to a psychographic, which is you guys want to be, it's not a bad thing to want to be entertained. Don't let anybody shame you for wanting to be entertained. But you want to be entertained, you want to be engaged, things like that. Okay, so psychographics are what really matter. And then we talked about the context. Remember? Context is, all right, how does the larger environment affect how the communication is delivered and received? So, for example, one of the types of context we talked about was physical context. What is the actual physical environment, the room like, and so on and so forth, right? Well, our physical context right now is live stream. That's our physical context. So what does that mean in terms of communicating? That means I need to be cognizant of the fact that you are multitasking, you have other distractions going on, you might have kids or dogs or animals, what have you, all the same. And you might have texts going on and so forth. Because of the physical context of this, I need to amp up my energy. I need to bring more things to bear in terms of the presentation. I need to do the gamification and so forth, because that's what's going to engage you given the physical context. By the way, Sarah, and this is what we just got our light bulb for, being entertained helps people learn and retain information better because they're paying closer attention. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's one of the challenges of teaching. When I was first in college, guys, I hated it. Oh my gosh, I hated it because I felt like I had to be there. And you don't learn as well when you have to be there. As I got older, and maybe some of you are older, maybe you'll relate. As I got older, I started to really learn how fun learning was. Learning is a frickin' hoot. Oh my gosh. It's an amazing world. Learning is fantastic. And so I really got to enjoy it more. And so when you feel entertained and you're enjoying the learning process, you retain it better. So yeah, Shane, sometimes that happens in different classes. I know not every modality, not every subject, not every teacher resonates with everybody. It's a challenge, right? Okay, that is our review. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and go over to today's material. So we're going to have some technical difficulties. Okay, here we are. Yeah, Stephanie, it's really true. Even I. My wife, she just earned her master's degree, which, by the way, means it is never too late. Even I, when I'm in classes and so forth, some classes I'm just like totally riveted. Other classes I'm like, oh my holy heck. And yes, I still take classes. That's where I learn all this stuff. Okay. Hey, today, it's over here, Lon. We're talking about crafting a winning media mix to get our message across. Okay, so media mix. This is what we are talking about right here. When we talk about media mix, what we're really talking about is what kind of communication channels or media are we using to get the message across. So you're going to hear me say channels. When I talk about channels, I'm talking about the various forms of communication, the various media that we use. So for example, right now, I'm using video, I'm using audio, I'm using body language, gesticulation. We're going to talk more in detail. But let me start by telling you a story. This happened when I was with Intel Corporation. Just to kind of show you guys that this isn't easy stuff. You know, if you're a good teacher, and I hope I try to be a good teacher. If you're a good teacher, you make it look easy. But the problem is when you make it look easy, people underestimate the difficulty here. They don't appreciate it. So I'm at Intel, and Intel, you know, they're the ones that make the CPUs and so forth for your computers. They have this massive call center for the employees. So when employees have an HR question, if you have a question about your health, your benefits, your retirement, you name it. If you have an HR question as an Intel employee, one of 80,000 employees, you'd pick up the phone and call the call center. And this call center had about 80 employees. And that's all they're doing all day long, right? Yeah, it already sounds like a nightmare. Ain't that the truth, right? Well, that's all they are doing all day long is answering these calls and doing the script and so forth. Well, eventually we kind of thought there's got to be a better way. And so we shifted all of the information away from the scripts and we put them online on the intranet. You know, the internal internet. All your companies have intranets, okay? And so we crafted the user experience, how you get the information, how you click along. We actually put a lot of time and effort and money into researching how to have the best possible user experience. And we actually still had the phone number. You could still call the call center, but there were only 10 employees, and we pretty much hid it, okay? Well, some interesting things happened that we discovered. First, most people sort of liked it because they could get the information at any time. They didn't have to pick up a phone and be on hold and so on and so forth. But those who had really complicated questions that you could not answer with a general, high-level script online, they still wanted to call. And so we learned that we couldn't hide the phone number. We needed to make the phone number available. But that was not the most interesting finding. The most interesting finding was from the executives, the really, really high-paid executives and engineers and so forth. And their logic was, and this wasn't flawed logic. Their logic was, listen, I can either pick up the phone and get the answer I need in 5 minutes, or I can spend 20 minutes trying to search for that answer online. And since I am paid X dollars an hour, 5 minutes cost me this and cost the company this, whereas 20 minutes cost the company so much more, even if you add in the pay of that call center employee. Here's the point. Both solutions, whether you have a call center or you have a website with an underfunded, understaffed call center, both have their pros and cons. And I want you to think about that story as we go through this information, because the pros and cons are going to become very apparent. Now, by the way, you guys experience this all the time when you want to get a hold of your advisor. Let's earn some points. If somebody tells you you need to talk to your advisor, what do you think? What comes to mind? Oh yeah, you ought to ask your advisor. That'd be a good thing. You ought to go set up a meeting with your advisor. What do you think when somebody tells you that? Because my guess is that you're running into much the same issue as these employees and executives, which is, well, I can look online and spend 20 minutes online, or I can talk to an advisor, but they're never available. So let's see here. I tried calling my advisor, and they hurried to get me off the phone. Bad news. Time to procrastinate a meeting as long as possible. Oh, my holy heck, yes. And that gets us our first animation. No doubt, okay? So you guys are there, and you got some more light bulbs. You guys understand this. On one hand, you wish the information was available online, but it's kind of hard to find. It's really hard to find. And yet you wish you could then just talk to an advisor, but then that's a Herculean effort and not very fruitful. You get this. So I want you to think about these scenarios as we talk through all of this today, okay? So let's come back over here and start talking about what do I mean by channels. And yes, the sound is still working. So a channel is the medium that we use to communicate our message. Right now I'm using voice, I'm using body language, I'm using all kinds of things, right? I'm using a PowerPoint presentation, I'm using the gamification light bulbs. These are all channels that I'm using right now. Some channels are super obvious. Email, phone, poster, newsletter. But some channels are not so obvious. So, for example, body language. Body language is a channel. Tonality. My voice going up and down is a channel. How I dress is a channel. How I set up my studio. All these things are channels. Now, to give you an example of what I mean, think about this. For those of you who speak another language, let's say I speak French and Japanese. And I speak French better than Japanese these days. So think about this and tell me if you experience the same thing I do. If I am speaking with somebody face to face in French, I can understand about 70% of what they say. 70. I can understand about 70%. However, if I have that very same conversation on the telephone, I'm lucky if I understand 20%. Well, now, what's the difference? Same conversation face to face versus on the telephone. The difference is that facial expressions and gesticulation, the body language, and so forth, this communicates a great deal. Yes, Shane, the body language communicates a ton. And so as a result, we do not understand as much when we take those things out of the picture, which is why we consider body language and so forth to be a channel. All right. So when it comes to internal business communication, remember, we're talking about internal business communication, communicating with coworkers, managers, employees, things like that. The challenge is not that there's a lack of channels. There are so many channels, okay? You got phone, voicemail, email, instant message, intranet, intercom, the list goes on. And actually, as I was building this slide earlier today, I actually made a short and put it on my YouTube channel. I realized that, you know what? Even these channels are really old. Intranet, instant message. Okay, that's texting now, text and so forth. I don't have anything here on social media. In other words, there are a lot of channels and there are always more channels coming. Let's see, real quick here. Sarah says a little bit of lip reading helps too. Yes, that absolutely does. Yeah, totally agree. As a matter of fact, I just watched the documentary about spaghetti westerns. Django on Django has, oh, come on, the filmmaker. Oh, gosh, I forget who made a new Django. Come on, why can't I think of him? Anyway, whenever I watch spaghetti westerns, the fact that the voice doesn't sync up with the lips, distracting, right? And see, Microsoft Teams is the perfect medium. Yeah, Microsoft Teams is a fantastic medium. Google Docs and so on and so forth can work really well. Slack. I should have Slack on this page because Slack is the new direction that a lot of companies are going. Chandale, at work, they speak more Spanish than English, so we communicate more with pointing at things that I don't understand. So, and by the way, we have our next one here. Funny thing about Spanish. So my daughter is learning Spanish because she wants to work in the medical industry. She's an MA right now, a medical assistant. So she's learning Spanish. My wife is an X-ray tech. And so she has a whole bunch of Spanish phrases memorized for her job as, lean back, do forward, don't move, hold your breath, all that sort of stuff. Because a ton of her patients speak Spanish, right? So absolutely. Okay. Oh yeah, Google Translator. Ain't that the truth? Oh, great. Okay. So the challenge is not that there's a lack of channels. That's not the challenge. The challenge is that we're lazy. All right. There are a handful of channels that we know really well, and so we just use them over and over and over without thinking about the purpose or the audience. Okay? So, for example, let's come, oh, no. I pushed the wrong button. Don't push the wrong button, Lon. So, for example, when it comes to live stream classes, most faculty will use Zoom. Zoom, because it's easy, it's available, it's there, doesn't matter. But it's not the best channel. And I'm not saying, oh, look at me. This is me saying that I recognize that Zoom is a less than optimal channel. And I bet that if I learn to use OBS and integrate the animations and so on and so forth, it can be a better, more effective channel. However, that takes work, right? And it's just so freaking easy to just run with what we've always got, right? So as a business communicator, you really need to take the time to figure out what my purpose is, who the audience is, and what the best channel is to bring about the desired action, right? Okay, so that means we've got a whole bunch of channels and wait, oh, I'm glad you like this more than Zoom. I'm really glad to hear that you like this more than Zoom because frankly, I like this more than Zoom too. This is a whole lot more fun to do as an instructor than to just sit here. Okay, students, today we are going to talk about, oh my gosh, it's awful. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of channels to choose from. How do we choose the best ones? Well, there are some criteria. There are some things that we should consider when figuring out what the best channel is. All right, first one. And I want you to think about this in terms of the story that I told you about Intel's call center and website and Salt Lake Community College's website and making meetings with advisor, okay? There's this idea called channel richness. Let me explain. A channel is rich when it is synchronous. There's many channels at play. You know, we talked about the body language. We talked about reading lips. You guys mentioned that. We talked about facial expression, gesticulation, tonality, video. This is a rich channel right now. It's not the richest. This channel would be richer if this were just a face-to-face conversation. That's as rich as you can get, one-to-one. A channel is less rich when it is devoid of all these things. It is not personalized. It's just a generic blast sent out, okay? So, for example, assignment instructions. You're on Canvas. You've got assignment instructions. That's not a very rich channel, though. So, you know, and I'm guilty of this too. I complain that, well, golly gee willikers, dear student, didn't you read the assignment? It's pretty clear, I thought, and so on. So it's not a question of clear. It's a question of it is not very rich. Therefore, it is more difficult to understand. However, as it says here, it's highly efficient. Really efficient. Therefore, low richness means that it is very ineffective, but very efficient. So a website, so effective, but very efficient. On the other side of the scale, we've got face-to-face. If I were to meet with each one of you individually, face-to-face, in a conference room, or a classroom, individually face-to-face, that would be much more effective. Much more effective. However, that's really inefficient. Very inefficient. I know, you know, now, of course, this is all the theory and so forth, but I'll give you an example. Sometimes I'll have a student call or say, I don't understand the assignment. And so I'll get on a Zoom meeting with them and I will read the assignment verbatim to the camera and say, do you understand? And they're like, oh yeah, I totally understand now. Well, what's the difference? You read the assignment and I read it to you verbatim. What's the difference? The difference is my tonality, my body language, where I'm putting the emphasis on things, so on and so forth. So with more richness comes more effectiveness, but less efficiency. Okay? Couple of comments here. Let's see. Lazy promotes lazy. Oh my gosh. Shane, it's really true. It's really true. Lazy promotes lazy. I appreciate that though. let's see, when I was switched second mortgage to a second mortgage company, everything was automated, emails, text, so on and so forth. Couldn't figure out. Yeah, now that's really efficient, but it wasn't very effective probably because it's not highly personalized, right? Automated emails and so forth. Yeah, you'd have to spend extra time personalizing each email. Now, with some really cool tech, you can actually take personal information. If you have a customer CMR, customer management system, or oh gosh, what is it? CMR? Customer management resource, something like that. I forget what these systems are called. It'll come back to me in a moment. But they can integrate that into the email, but then that's a tech challenge, right? Let's see. Sarah says, 100% of Pearson online classes getting help from professors like pulling teeth. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's like, I'm sorry, but some professors are like, I don't want to have to deal with this. That's why I'm using Pearson, right? It's like, no. It doesn't work like that. Totally. CRM, Customer Resource Management. Thank you. Thank you. That's it, right? Richard, I've done tech support for both over the phone and online chats. Phone is so much easier to communicate. Yes. It is, because it's richer. It's richer, right? Tiffany, I hate it when companies do automated customer service. Yes. Okay, Tiffany, mwah, light bulb. Because that is their way of trying to be more efficient, because an automated system is cheaper than a human being, but it is not effective. Now, when we talk about artificial intelligence, AI, and please learn, and I'm working on it too. After class today, I'll share some stuff if you're interested to show you how I'm using AI. You want to learn how to use it to be more effective. But trust me, companies are going to try to find out ways to not hire you and replace you with AI. It's going to be efficient, but not always effective. So you guys are totally getting this, right? You get the idea. Hard human representative these days, right? Press this button for that, right? Yeah. All comes down to cost. You're absolutely right. So you guys are killing it. You're killing it. All right, so let's keep going here. Now, another thing we need to look at is synchronous versus asynchronous, okay? Synchronous means it's happening right now together, real time. So, for example, if you are Shane or Alex or Brian or Tiffany or Ryan, this is a synchronous experience for you. We are communicating synchronously. Well, 6-second delay, okay? If you're watching this video 2 years from now, this is asynchronous, meaning you can get the information, but you cannot contribute to the conversation. You can't ask questions. You can't bounce ideas around and so forth. Now, some channels, face-to-face, telephone, synchronous. Some channels, email, voicemail, assignments posted to Canvas, announcements on Canvas. These are asynchronous. And some channels are both. So, for example, texting. For some of us, texting is a synchronous channel. If I don't get a text back within a minute, I'm like, are you there? Are you listening? Other people, text is an asynchronous channel, meaning, okay, I got the text, I'll respond to you when I have some time. It depends on the relationship and the topic and the purpose on whether or not it's synchronous or asynchronous. What happens in the next 2 to 4 years, right? Probably technology. Okay, Shane and Christopher, I totally agree. I believe strongly. It's not just I believe strongly. I am willing to put money on the barrelhead, okay? I guarantee you we are going to see AI tech advancements over the next year that we saw over the last 10 years. Because, and I've done a lot of research on this. I'm not an expert, but I've done a lot of research. Pretty soon, after about version 5 or 6 on ChatGTP and things like that, GPT, it's going to start improving itself. Programmers won't be doing it anymore. It'll be improving itself. Even since chat with OpenAI came out at the end of November, there is a plethora of new tools and technologies out there. They're coming out every day. I'm using them in Gmail right now. I'll show you later on, okay? If you want to stick around, I'll show you how I'm using AI. All right. Gosh. Okay, let's keep going here. You also need to figure out, is it a push or pull channel? Which is best? Now, a push channel is something that you are going to receive the communication whether you are looking for it or not. Okay? An email, a phone call, a home mailer, right? Whether you are looking for information or not, this email is going to come into your inbox. Whether you are looking for it or not, when you go to Canvas, this announcement will be waiting for you. That is a push channel. I am pushing the information out to you. By contrast, a pull channel is when you actively go out there and get the information. So, for example, if you go to Rate My Professors, because you're going to sign up for classes next semester, you go to Rate My Professors to figure out what professor you want to take a class from, you are pulling that information. You are going out to it and you are actively looking for the information. Well, pull channels are great if people know that it's out there. If they don't know the channel is out there, they don't know to pull it. So, for example, and I should have had it up as an example, but I didn't think of it until now. If you go out to nutshellbrainery.com, you go to my website, you go to nutshellbrainery.com, there are articles out there, there are resources, there are case studies, there are study notes, there are study guides, there's merch, there's all kinds of things that you can pull down. But if you don't know about that website, you don't know that's available. So you got to kind of use a blend of push and pull channels to let people, to get people the information you want them to have access to. Okay. Let's see. Ryan, had a director tell me just because you send an email doesn't mean you've communicated with someone. Okay. Changed how I communicate a bit. Now, that is not only true, it is so freaking true. Ryan, you are predicting what's coming up next. So everyone, I want to reread what Ryan said. I want you to think about this. Had a director tell me that just because you sent an email doesn't mean you've communicated with someone, okay? Well, let's show how correct Ryan is. We want to think about two things here, two things kind of simultaneously, reach and frequency, okay? So reach is the percentage of the target audience that is exposed to the message, okay? So, for example, if you're communicating with a sales team who spends all their time on the road and you hold a face-to-face meeting at corporate headquarters, your reach is not going to be that good because half of them are on the road. Or if you're communicating with an hourly manufacturing team and you send an email, they don't care about their email. So let's take this class for a moment right now. How many people have we got? We've got 17 folks with us right now. Actually, that's pretty darn sweet because there's only 11 people registered in this online course, okay? Which means this live stream class, which means there are some online students and maybe some lecture students who have chosen to join us, maybe some other people who just saw that it was on Nutshell Brainery and you're here. Welcome, you're here. I'm very pleased you are. But that doesn't mean that 100% of the students who signed up for this lecture are here. So my reach is never 100%, even if you're in the room, even if you're here right now, but you're multitasking, you're speaking with, your kid, or your cat is puking in the corner, or you have a game on another screen. That means that my reach is not 100%. Then the other thing you want to think about is frequency. Just because you sent an email, right, Ryan? Just because you sent an email doesn't mean that you've communicated, all right? Many of us need to hear the same damn thing over and over and over before it finally clicks in, right? Myself included. So frequency is very important. So let me show you how I use reach and frequency with you guys, okay? Let me show you all the channels I use to communicate. So first of all, I have a syllabus where I have stuff written, but I also use memes. I use memes in my syllabus. I have, of course, resources you can download. We've got the case studies. We've got the lecture notes, practice exams, things like that. I use email. You've already seen email from me come up in your inbox. I have videos that explain the purpose of this particular module. So each time you go to Canvas and open a module, you see a video that explains what we're doing this week. I also use graphics. I use graphics to kind of show that purpose decides the audience, which decides the channel, and so forth. I have written text. Some of us still read written text. I don't. I have videos. I have a whole series of lecture videos that you can watch to get the information. I use announcements. Announcements are another channel at my disposal. I have articles on specific topics like communicating at work that you can use. You've got this handsome face right here. You've got my PowerPoint presentation. And then, of course, we have all this great conversation going on. I think this is 12 channels. I'm using 12 channels very, very frequently. And yet, I'm not going to be effective all the time in getting the message across, okay? This is harder than it looks. I will still have students come to me toward the middle of the semester when we start working on a strategic communications plan. I will still have students say, "What's a strategic communications plan?" And it's like, oh, we've explained it a lot. As a matter of fact, hang on, there it is. You see those videos there? I made those about 2 years ago. They've got about 4 views. In other words, I presented information to online students saying this is what you can expect this week, and it's not used. That's not the student's fault. That's me having to understand that I need to use a lot of channels in a lot of ways with a lot of frequency to help students through this course. And it's no different for you guys in your business communication. So yeah, Ryan, just because you sent an email doesn't mean you communicated, right? Actually, I think email is like one of the least effective channels, but okay. Now, the next thing we need to think about is the nature of the message itself. Some things need to be said face-to-face. Some things should be said with a phone call. Some things can be said with an email. It depends on the nature of the message. There's a really interesting debate going on in HR right now. A lot of companies are laying people off over Zoom. And the question is that an appropriate channel for something as touchy as a layoff? Now, I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of the controversy of the debates and so forth, But that's kind of a thing these days, right? Breaking up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend over text, probably not the right channel. We may have done it, but it's probably not the right channel. So you need to think about the nature of your message and what is the right channel for that sort of message. By the way, sent you this email, right? Absolutely. And then Sarah says, in more social classes like this, I get most of my information from the main lecture itself, which makes things easier. Yes, it's really true. My wife hates online classes because she's like, I need to hear it. I need to interact and so forth. Others like it. It's different for different people. Very good. Okay. Then you got to think about the credibility of the channel. All right. These are real signs I took pictures of, right? You've seen these signs. Hey, local real estate investor, sales trainee, you'll earn $10,000 a month, right? Somebody explained to me how somebody who is looking for someone to train, that even the trainee can earn $120,000 a year, but the person doing the training can't afford a better marketing strategy than boards written with a pen. Okay, you know as well as I do that this is scam all over the place, right? Well, different channels are credible in different ways or seen as credible. This is why phishing emails can get to be so nasty, right? Because it's like, oh, it looks credible. Yeah, right? Exactly, Sarah. Right, Shane, you're right. If you can pay somebody $120,000 a year, you can afford a graphic designer. I mean, hell, you probably have this thing called PowerPoint. You can make one yourself, take it to FedEx office, and have them print it. Oh, but no. Right? Give me a break. Okay, so we got to look at credibility of our channel. We also need to look at saturation. Okay, here's the thing. Let's take email, for example. Email is really, really, really cheap and really, really, really easy. And so, especially my generation, we send out tons of email. But you know what? Since you're receiving tons of email, our email gets lost in the clutter, right? I will send out emails, I'll send out announcements that I think are actually really, really beneficial to the students. But one of the challenges I have is you're getting a ton of emails and maybe you're not even checking email because it's such I just get garbage in that. And then the announcements on Canvas, you don't look at the announcements first thing you come into Canvas. You come into Canvas with the distinct purpose of, what do I need to do this week, right? And what do I need to do this week does not include check announcements up at the top. And so it becomes a real challenge for us as internal business communicators to figure out what's the channel that gets the most attention. Now, you folks who do social media, you get this. It is an attention economy, right? So I put out TikToks, I put out shorts, I put out Instagram reels and so forth. I have my videos, and you gotta do something to break through the clutter. Now, a lot of the stuff that they're doing these days to break through the clutter are pretty obnoxious, so I'm not going to adhere to them. But you got to do things like, you got to switch the camera to keep people's attention because, you know what, they got to stay engaged. And breaking through the clutter is really tough. So channel saturation is a challenge, right? I would love to hear recommendations, you can either put them in the comments there, or you can email me or whatever. I'd love to hear recommendations on what channels are best, right? So we'll play with that. All right. And then you gotta look at the cost. This one's obvious, right? Email is cheap, but it's ineffective. This live stream setup, more effective, but expensive, right? Now, I've already made the investment, but still, you see what I'm saying is sometimes efficiency and cheap, they rule the day, like going to a bank and going through a phone tree, but that doesn't mean they're effective. Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. I want to do a short little exercise. And let's see, this bad boy is going to get you guys, well, definitely to the 15. Let's see if, oh, you're over here now. Sorry. Let's see if we can get you to the 20. All the call action werewolf YouTuber. Oh, like and subscribe. Oh, that is so funny. Like and subscribe. I actually, in my videos now, I don't do, hey, like and subscribe anymore, because it's like people already know. It's a useless call to action. But yeah, like and subscribe. I never thought about that. Werewolf. Okay. So here's our 2-minute exercise. This is what we want to do. Let's come back over here for a moment so that we can read it a little bit better. Actually, I'm in the way. Get out of the way, Lon. We want to encourage current SLIC students to register early for next semester, because, by the way, you really do want to register early. If you have a particular professor or a particular time slot that you really want, register early. My classes fill up in like the first 2 weeks. Some of my classes fill up in a week. So you want to register early. Okay. So, what do you think are the best channels to use to encourage SLIC students to register for classes? Okay. And why do you think they're the best channels? All right. So let's review. We want to encourage SLIC students to register early for the next semester. What are the best channels to use to reach you, SLIC students? And why do you think these are the most effective channels for you? So let's go ahead and work through this for a couple minutes, and you guys are going to get to 20. All right, let's do it. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Yes, this is the one we want. Okay. Let's read through these. These are excellent, right? Okay. So, first of all, Shane, you said, when a professor encourages you to, a professor in class, and I like the way you point out that this is a high richness channel. Yes, it is a high richness channel. It is a push channel, and it is a synchronous channel. Furthermore, if you are on good terms with your professor, then your professor can influence you more because your professor is viewed as a credible source of information. So, yes, absolutely. Let's see. Email or okay, hold on. Let's see. Yes, email or Canvas. I believe one of the best channels, Cade, is the Canvas banner up at the top of Canvas, right? So whenever you log into Canvas, every once in a while, this banner shows up there at the top and you read it and so forth. I think that is a highly effective channel because you are going out to Canvas every day. So even it is a push channel. They know you're going to be there. It disrupts your normal flow by having that thing smash right in your face. And so I think those are great. Let's see, text messages. Yeah, now here's the thing about text messages. You actually have to opt in to the text message service. So as you guys pointed out, not all of you get text messages. That's because you have not opted in. Well, now, how do I opt in? I don't know. So you see how it's tricky? That means you have to actually go out and pull the information to opt in. Screw it. I don't want to worry about that. See, that's a tricky thing. Let's see here. Class comments from the professor. Okay, now, Brian, check this out. Okay, yeah, and Sarah, you check your Outlook and your Bruin text and your email. Absolutely. And by the way, you notice reach and frequency there, right, Sarah? Reach and frequency because you're getting it through a media mix, meaning lots of channels. Now, Brian, you point out TikTok and so forth. Now, here's the thing. Organizations get really excited about the idea of communicating with students, like Slick is excited about communicating with students through Instagram, TikTok, things like that. Here's the challenge. Who here subscribes to Slick's Instagram account? Maybe one or two of you. Who here subscribes to Slick's TikTok? Does Slick even have a TikTok? I don't know. So that's the challenge that many organizations, including Slick, have. They know that the most effective channel is Instagram, TikTok, things like that. However, you're not subscribing to their accounts, right? So that's a challenge. I have that same challenge. I want to communicate with you guys through my social media accounts. And I'm in Instagram, I'm in TikTok, and so on and so forth. But if you're not subscribed, it's not an effective channel. Okay. Meaning the reach is low. If you're not subscribed, the reach is low. Feel like announcements is a great way to go, says Ryan. I think announcements are fairly effective. Banner and Canvas, says Tiffany. Yes. Text reminder. Oh yeah. You guys are getting a ton, right? Let's see. Yeah, Randy, if you like the text reminder, opt in, right? Go out to Canvas and Google how to opt in to it. Yes, the week before, Christopher, have the professors announce. Yes, absolutely, right? But Shane said, I never check my Bruin mail. Yeah. A lot of us don't, right? I don't want Slick on my TikTok. Yeah, okay, so Julian, you make me think. By the way, everyone. Oh, hold on. This went to stop. Hang on. A whole bunch of things just went south there. Oh, well, I know okay. I forgot to push a button correctly. You guys just totally got up to 20, right? You are so there. So fantastic. This is what I want you to do. Send me an email through Canvas and just say, here, all right? And I'll take care of the rest because you earned 20 extra credit points. You crushed it. Couple things. First of all, let's come back to what Julian said. So I always tell students, hey, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Now, got to think about the audience. Most self-respecting students are like, I don't want some old fart looking at me on Instagram. Are you kidding? And TikTok? Hell no, right? Now, us old farts already stole Facebook from you, right? 5 years ago, Facebook was the coolest damn thing on the earth until your grandparents discovered Facebook, and now they all want to follow you on Facebook. And so now you can't post anything there, right? And so you went on over to Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok, and that's where you can take off your clothes and dance, right? And so when an old dude comes along and says, hey, follow me on TikTok, you're like, yeah, no, right? I get it. I totally get it. That, Christopher's like, yeah. That being said, I have many, many, many students who follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I follow them. And I want to tell you, Vegas rules apply. All right? I don't say a word, and I don't say, except to say, you're awesome, right? Because, that's your space. That's your space. It's not our space. Sarah, I feel like Facebook stopped being cool like 10 years ago. Yeah, it stopped being cool like about 3 years after it came about. Pretty hilarious. Okay. All right, a couple more things to wrap up. Now, in all of this, everyone, you got to think about content, tone, and message. All right, you've got your channel, but you really want to think about what is the content you want to include. So, for example, I've got comic books in my background. There they are. There are my comic books. That constitutes content. And that gives a certain tone. So this is where things get really tricky because on one hand, I want to come across as credible. I am a college professor with an MBA and a PhD, and I'm SPHR certified. I have 25 years corporate experience. I am a credible source. And by the way, when I worked in corporate America, I worked in internal business communication. Well, then what am I doing putting comic books up, right? And so you have to kind of weigh, all right, well, on one hand, I want to be credible. On the other hand, I want to be accessible and genuine and authentic. And I've got news for you. We're all authentically weird. We're all weird. The only question is, are you comfortable with your weirdness? Well, I've been on this planet for like over half a century, and I'm just now getting comfortable with my weirdness. So if I find somebody who everything is sterile and dark background and they're just a talking head and they're got a tie on and stuff, I'm like, okay, you might be credible, but I don't know that you're authentic. And so you got to kind of weigh these things when it comes to content and tone, because tone imbues words and everything else with meaning beyond the definition, right? So for example, if you say to a dog, "Oh, you're a stupid little dog. Aren't you a stupid little dog?" The tone says, "Oh, you're wonderful and fantastic," right? Whereas if you say, "I just love you," you'd be like, dude, chill out, right? Well, the meaning of the words that I used are irrelevant. It's the tone that sent the message. And the same thing goes with my background and my look and the industrial thing and so on and so forth. On the other hand, my tone can also be, since I'm into the industrial look, well, that's not cool. That's not hip. I should have blue and orange lights everywhere, right? I don't like the blue and orange lights. I tried it. Doesn't work for me. Okay. And then, of course, that brings us to the message. You need your audience to know what to do, to feel that it's the right thing to do, and then to actually do it. So, for example, you know that you should send me an email saying, here, and don't wait, right?
No, what are you waiting for? Do it!
Do it right now. Multitask, do it right now, don't forget, okay? You feel that's the right thing to do because you want the extra credit points. Therefore, you will actually do it. All right? So this is my way of trying to help you know what you need to do, feel that it's the right thing, and actually do it. You need to think about that as well when you do your communications. What information do they need? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do? Okay? Very good. Very good, Tiffany. Let's see. Oh, yes. Yeah, Kate, it can be totally from your personal email. You can send it to my personal email. I don't care. It's all good. Yeah. Yeah. My email, by the way, in case you're just like, I don't want to go into Canvas, lawn.schiffbauer. Did I spell that right? It's such a lame-ass name. slcc.edu. Okay. So now all the world who's watching this later on knows my email address. Doesn't matter. It's all good. Okay. So we need to think about these things. And then finally, everyone, 2 slides. Don't worry. We're almost there. You got to think about what's in it for them, with them. What's in it for me? Here's the thing. You have limited time, limited energy, and limited interest in things. And I am asking you for your time, your energy, and your interest. So why should you give it to me? Well, it's not a question of should. It is the quintessential lazy statement of a professor saying, well, if they want a good grade, they should listen. Should, there's lots of things I should do that I don't do. The question is, what's in it for you? You are not going to dedicate your time, energy, and interest to anything that does not have an immediate payoff or a future payoff, I should say. Therefore, you're going to send me that email saying here because you're getting points. That's what's in it for you. Whereas if I said, hey, do me a favor, subscribe to my Instagram account, you're going to be like, nah. Well, you should. Nah. I'll give you $50. Okay. Now, no, I won't give you $50. But you see, now all of a sudden there's a what's in it for you. Okay. So you need to think about that. And then finally, your call to action should be accessible and relevant to who they are. Don't make it difficult for them to take action. So, for example, I went ahead and put my school email account in there. Now, I could have said, well, go into Canvas, pull up the email, pull up the teacher for your class, and do it. That's called sludge. Okay? I am making it difficult for you to take action. Whereas if I just give it to you right off, right, then you can do it much more easily. Okay? And in fact, if I had some sort of way of putting a button up here that you could just push the button and it sends me the notice to my email, that would be called a nudge. So someday check out a book called Nudge, really cool. But it talks about how to make things easy for your audience to take action, okay? Well, Shane, I'm still trying to learn this myself. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But I'm still trying to learn. Don't think this is easy for a moment, guys. Like I say, I've been doing this half a century and I'm just now starting to understand, let alone put into practice. Okay? So with that, let's come back to center. We're back. We're back. That's everything we wanted to go over today. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please ask them there. In the meantime, I'm going to kind of tell you a quick story. But again, we're all done. We're finished. If you have any questions or comments, leave them. If you want to hear the quick story, stick around. Otherwise, if you start dropping off now, it's totally cool. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week. Okay. I want to let you know that you guys have really motivated me to continue working on this format. So, of course, I have all of my data in YouTube. So after the live stream, I can pull up my data. And the data allows me to see how many people are here and how many comments were made. Now, each semester I try to improve how I do this and so forth, but the data from our class last week says that you guys crushed it. We got more engagement, more comments, more interaction than I have had in any other live stream. And they've always done well and they've always done better than the last. But I found that very motivating for me. And so I just wanted to say thank you very much. I know that, of course, the points matter, these extra credit points, but I still see engagement from you after you've earned the points. And that's just like so cool. So yeah, Shane, booyah. Right? I really appreciate it. And that gives me the motivation to continue trying to do better. Right? So yeah, Christopher, totally. Hell yeah. So I appreciate that. I told you I was going to tell you a story afterwards, but I can't remember what that story was, right? Tiffany, thank you. I really do appreciate it. If somebody can remember what I was going to tell you afterwards, I can't remember what I was going to tell you. I'll integrate it into the next lecture, right? So, if there's no other questions, no other comments, I appreciate your support and so forth, then you guys are totally good, right? Yeah, I know, right, Shane? I hate that feeling, right? I totally hate that feeling. Oh, it's so true. I believe there's a quiz coming up this week. I think there's one coming up, but check Canvas. And if you have any questions or comments, of course, you can always email, reach out, all that good stuff and so forth. So we're good. Brian says, thank you and opportunity to learn stuff. I really appreciate it. Okay, you're all set. Everyone, thank you very much. And we will see you next week, if not sooner. All right? I know I email with a few of you, and we have some stuff coming up on our Discord. I'm setting up Discord for other conversations and so forth, so we'll see you there. Don't worry, not required. Not required. We'll see you guys. Hey, Randy, have a good one. Richard, have a good one. We'll see you. Stephanie, thank you. We'll see you, Christopher. Alex, yes, have a great rest of your week, too. It's only Tuesday. It's going to be a long week. We'll get there, right? Hey, Kiara, thank you. Have a good one, Tiffany. Thanks, Ryan. Julian, we'll see ya. Christopher, oh, adios, Brian. Yes, I need to practice my espagnol. Ou on peut parler français, mais Il n'y a personne qui parle français. Actually, that's not true. I had a student last semester who spoke French. All right, I don't see questions coming in, so I'm going to wrap things up. We'll see ya.